John Wishnu Pranam Bhagavan Ki Jai, Guitar Satyajishi Smarade Bhaktivan Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Sankirtan Yoga Ki Jai, all glories to Sangha. Go permanent. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Continuing readings from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, titled The Characteristics of King Paranjana, Text 23. Pisanganivim Shushronim Pisanganivim Shushronim Svayam Kanakamekalam Swamam Kanakamekalam Padbyam Vanabhyam Chalantim Padbyam Kvanabhyam Kalantim Nuparer Devatam Eva Nuparer Devatam Eva Isanganivim Sushronim Shamam Kanakamekalam Abhyam Kvanabhyam Kalantim Nuparer Devatam Eva Isanganivim Sushronim Swamam Kanakamekalam Abhyam Kvanabhyam Kalantim Nuparer Devatam Eva Ishanganivim Shusranim
Shamam Kanaka Mekalam. Adyam Pranadyam Chalantim. Nupurer Devatam Iva. Ishandavim Shushradim. Shamam Kanaka Mekalam. Adyam Pranadyam Chalantim. Nupurer Devatam Iva.
Pisanga, yellow, nithim, garment, sushronim, beautiful waist, swamam, blackish, kanaka, golden, mekalam, belt, hatyam, with the feet, kranadbyam, tinkling, kalantim, walking, purer, with ankle bells, devatam, a denizen of the heavens, eva, light. Translation: the waist and hips of the woman were very beautiful. She was dressed in a yellow sari with a golden belt. While she walked, her ankle bells rang. She appeared exactly like a denizen of heavens. I thought this was an honor to give Bhagavatam class, but I think it's a trick. Just kidding. Please repeat: the waist and hips of the woman were very beautiful. She was dressed in a yellow sari with a golden belt. While she walked, her ankle bells rang. She appeared exactly like a denizen of the heavens. Prabhupada. This verse expresses the joyfulness of the mind upon seeing a woman with raised hips and breasts dressed in an attractive sari and bedecked with ornaments. Now, since this is short, I'm going to go to the next one too, text 24. Stanam dvanjita kaisaro samavrto narantaro vastrantena niguhantim kaminim. With the end of her sari, the woman was trying to cover her breasts, which were equally round and well placed side by side. She again and again tried to cover them out of shyness while she walked exactly like a great elephant. Purport. The two breasts represent attachment and envy. The symptoms of raga and dvesha, attachment and envy, are described in Bhagavad Gita 3:34. Indriyas yendriyasyarte yo raga dvesha vavastao tayor na vasham agachet tauhi asya paripantana. Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks in the path of self-realization. These representatives of attachment and envy are very much unfavorable for advancement in spiritual life. One should not be attracted by the breasts of young women. The great Saint Sankaracharya has described the breasts of women, especially young women, as nothing but a combination of muscles and blood. So one should not be attracted by the illusory energy of raised breasts and nipples. They are agents of Maya meant to victimize the opposite sex. Because the breasts are equally attractive, they are described as samavrtao. The sex impulse remains in an old man's heart also, even up to the point of death. To be rid of such agitation, one must be very much advanced in spiritual consciousness, like Yamunacharya, who said, Yarvadi mamachita Krishna padarvinde navadavarasadamanya uchitamatamasya tad avnati bhatanari sangame Smaryama me bhavati mukha vikarashustunisvim nishtipanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought and my lips curl with the distaste. When one is spiritually advanced, he can no longer be attracted by the lumps of flesh and blood, which are the breasts of young women. The word Nirantara is significant because although the breasts are situated in different locations, the action is the same. We should not make any distinction between attachment and envy. As described in Bhagavad Gita 3:37, they are both products of Rajaguna. Kama esha krodha esha Rajaguna samudbhava. The word niguhantim, trying to cover, indicates that even if one is tainted by kama, lobha, krodha, etc., they could be transfigured by Krishna consciousness. In other words, one can utilize kama, lust, for serving Krishna. Being impelled by lust, an ordinary worker will work hard day and night. Similarly, a devotee can work hard day and night to satisfy Krishna. Just as karmis are working hard to satisfy kama krodha, a devotee should work in the same way to satisfy Krishna. Similarly, krodha, anger, can also be used in the service of Krishna when it is applied to the non-devotee demons. Hanumanji applied his anger in this way. He was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, and he utilized his anger to set fire to the kingdom of Ravana, a non-devotee demon. Thus, kama, lust, can be utilized to satisfy Krishna, and krodha, anger, can be utilized to punish the demons. When both are used for Krishna's service, they lose their material significance and become spiritually important. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Sadguru Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translations repeated. The waist and hips of the woman were very beautiful. She was dressed in a yellow sari with a golden belt. While she walked, her ankle bells rang. She appeared exactly like a denizen of the heavens. With the end of her sari, the woman was trying to cover her breasts, which were equally round and well placed side by side. She again and again tried to cover them out of shyness, while she walked exactly like a great elephant. So, we have Narada Muni giving some mercy to King Prachinibarisat, who needs some lessons on renunciation and spiritual enlightenment in order for him to make more progress to the spiritual kingdom and pure Krishna consciousness. And so he's explaining to him this allegorical story. Of course, it's talking about him, but it's not, maybe he's going to get it by talking directly at him about you're like this, but using this allegorical story. And the word Paranjana refers to the living entity who is embodied in this material body and is, in ignorance, thinking that I am this body, so therefore happiness will happen if I gratify my senses. And so let me now pursue material sense gratification. Might as well max that out and have the best life possible. This is what happens what people think when they don't have Prabhupada's books. That we can all possibly remember. Maybe we were there before we read Prabhupada's book. And so, sorry. So we think, so thinking that we are the body, and so I can be happy by pursuing this. And so it starts out with where King Paranjana is now going to go scour the planet for that ideal situation. But, and I've seen, I used to train up brahmachari, I guess I still do a little bit, but not as before. I used to, people, brahmacharis, when they were young, they would get some training from me. I'd live with them and so forth. But see, at a certain point, sometimes they would think that, I've done my life as a brahmachari. Now let me go enjoy. It's not completely burned out, this mind yet. And so, of course, you just recommend, it's better if you can just keep applying yourself. But they really think, some of them, or maybe, I don't want to say all, but some just think that I can find that ideal situation. And then you see them pursue that. And they go travel over here for that ideal situation. And they go travel over there for that ideal situation. And then after traveling for about 6 months, a year and a half, they start to realize that, man, they get bummed out because it's not here in this material world. Generally, I remember growing up, thinking that this is the ideal situation, but it's not. You scour the planet everywhere you go, even if you're somebody like Bezos, is that his name? Multi-billionaire. He's got his jet, maybe his private island or whatever, Still, I know there's a mosquito. Krishna is guaranteed to give him a bad time. Pursuing material pursuits, no offense, seems like a nice person, but just anybody just trying to find the right situation here in this material world, it's not here. It's not in the reflection of the real world. And that girl just would only, that's the one, but then again, maybe not. I remember biking through Europe when I was 15 with my brother. And, he was 18, I was 15. And, thoughts when we haven't read Prabhupada's books are, where we call them specimens, ideal. And we'd rate them, like 1 to 10, right? But the farthest I could get up to in Europe was about 6. I was so disappointed. It's like, oh man, 6, God. It's like, God, man, can't wait for you have 6, God. You travel all over the place looking for that ideal situation. Best I could find was Silverton, Colorado, right by the stream. If I could have a ranch there and get my engineering degree, afford that. 6, and it's cold there in the winter too. And, oh man, so this is what Paranjana is going through. King Paranjana, he's looking for that ideal situation. You see the brahmacharis, that go that route. They just really get frustrated. And so, no offense to anybody, but when you go for Krishna, everything works out so wonderfully. That's the whole thing. There's a real mango tree on the side of the lake, and the reflection of the mango tree is not going to do it for you. But the real mango tree is perfect, always. So, off track of what I was going to talk about. But the point is that we have to find something better in this material than what's materially offered. And they say for a man, woman is Maya. Without, I don't want to get too weird here, but just to be like really kind of accurate for a man's thinking, in summary, as when I was at U of A, they were distributing books at a table, and I was not doing well, and I approached two men. and said, you know, what's the highest achievement in life? They both looked at each other at the same time. They said the same thing, and then they chuckled. I thought it was bizarre. I mean, it wasn't planned. They didn't look at each other and go, let's say this. They both looked at each other and looked at me, and they said at the same time, a prostitute. I'm like, man, you know, so this, man, like the highest achievement in life is knowledge, man. And so that's our thinking when we don't have Prabhupada's books. And, you know, Prabhupada gives it, you know, even, you know, I won't go there. But point is that this is our thinking, that through this material machine called a woman, and why do we call that Maya? You know, why is it Maya? Because we're identifying the self of the body. And like if you had a woman cockroach body, you got to say, you know, that I would not be attracted to that female young lady with whatever. And so it's because we have this body, you know, we're then attracted in that way conditionally. So but there's a way to solve the problem, fortunately, because if there wasn't Prabhupada's books around, everybody would just be, you know, pursuing that full speed ahead. And I recall just a couple of days ago, a couple of days ago, where I was at the book table, and the night before I just chanted. I just couldn't stop chanting. Every now and then it happens. So I didn't get much sleep or any sleep. So next day at the table, I was a little drowsy, and I was reading Prabhupada's books, and I kind of fell asleep. And then I woke up to this lady there, real close to the table, that was endowed quite a bit with certain features, and this explains here, with very little clothing. And I woke up to that right there, and I had to process it. I remember processing it. Okay. And, you know, just fortunately, Prabhupada's lectures, listen to Prabhupada all night long with the lectures, just put on. And one that gets repeated a lot is the same lecture about Prabhupada using this analogy. He uses the words, instead of spit, he says spite. I guess he misunderstood the mispronunciation. I spite at the thought. It is the exact same thing. So that just kind of came to my mind, you know, okay, wait. Don't, you know, do anything crazy. And, you know, we got to utilize intelligence. So I watched my mind go through the processes of how to solve this problem. And as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, the body, higher than the body is the sense, the senses of the mind, and higher than the mind is the intelligence. And then there's higher than that's the soul. So the intelligence can, you know, grab the reins of the mind. And where does the intelligence go? The intelligence must go to the scripture for how to solve the problems. And then we have, you know, what does it say throughout this? That the sense objects, by pursuing, when they come in contact with each other, the sense objects, that causes suffering. Okay, all right, so don't do anything stupid here. And, you know, what else? So don't pursue that. And it also talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, my mind's going to the Bhagavad Gita, you know, those in mode of passion, you know, they go after these sense pleasures and then they feel suffering later. Whereas those in the mode of goodness, they don't do that. They perform, you know, spiritual activities. It seems like suffering in the beginning, but in the long run, you gain the most. So my mind's processing all this so that, you know, so going back to the Bhagavad Gita and what Prabhupada was bringing in those lectures, constant lectures about this, and they spit the thought. So I don't know if we should get some spittoons in the temple or anything like that. Just kidding. You know, but so hopefully you all don't even think about this at all, so you don't need any spittoons. But anyways, the point is that we really have to solve the problem. And fortunately, Prabhupada is really giving it heavy duty. And I notice when I don't, and we're so conditioned, like the worm gets out of the stool and has a tendency to go back into the stool. And so when I don't read enough of Prabhupada's books, Could be for a very good reason, because I'm just too busy. The book distribution's going super duper, and I'll catch up later. And I notice, like that worm getting attracted back to that stool, the material pursuit, just like Kinpurchani Bodhisattva is doing, thinking that I'm going to be happy here. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I started to think, and I knew, I watched this thinking process. So there's the me there watching the thinking process. And it's very common. And I was just thinking, God, should have just went to MIT, got an engineering job, and, did the material pursuit, and, just, take the spiritual life later, it would have been so much more enjoyable, and this and that. And then we're going, okay, you haven't read enough. This is why these thoughts are coming here. And they came pretty strong, actually, really strong the other day. And I went, you really got to get back to reading. And then you just get back to reading Bhagavatam, and you're just reminded. You go, oh, no, I did the right thing. Yeah, sacrificing for Prabhupada. And what's this going to do anyway? It's really just, a bunch of blood and what is it? Or pus and blood, or whatever they say. It's just blood and something else. Muscles, there we go. So it's really, and what's that going to do? It's really not going to really provide real happiness, And what's it going to do? It's going to bind me to this material dimension further, pursuing that, and all this stuff. And then you start thinking, oh yeah, I did the right thing. Yeah, this is good. Let me keep going with this book distribution, or whatever, or spiritual progress. So yeah, that way we're by reading regularly. Otherwise, I just see it regularly with people that take Krishna consciousness but don't really, in a disciplined way, read enough Prabhupada's books or apply themselves appropriately. They really get off track. So let me just picture this purport just a little bit so we can go deeper into this. Yeah, the two breasts represent attachment and envy. Wow. Who would guess that or anything like this? You wouldn't think, people don't think that unless they read these books, is my point. It's really, attraction and repulsion for sense, but one should not fall under the control of the senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Let me go just back a few verses to 10, and the purport, Prabhupada's saying some really cool stuff that could lead into further discussion. Every living entity is paranjana. The word param means within this body, within this form. The jana means living entity, thus everyone is paranjana. Every living entity is supposed to be the king of his body because the living entity is given full freedom to use his body as he likes. He usually engages his body for sense gratification because one who is in the bodily conception of life feels that the ultimate goal of life is to serve the senses. This is the process of karmakanda. One who has no inner knowledge, who does not know that he is actually the spirit soul living within the body, who is simply enamored by the dictation of the senses, is called a materialist. A materialistic person interested in sense gratification can be called a paranjana. Because such a materialistic person utilizes his senses according to his whims, he may also be called a king. An irresponsible king takes the royal position to be his personal property and misuses his treasury for sense gratification. So we have to do just the opposite of that, instead of gaining knowledge, applying knowledge, and try to live on the spiritual plane as best as we can so we get that down. And following the rules and regulations and the guidance of spiritual authorities. And it can be done. And you all are proof of it. Here we are living a sane, functioning life, which is so rare in this world. Everything's gone nuts. It's a complete madhouse out there. Prabhupada calls it an insane asylum, Rajagun and Tamagun, passion and ignorance, just messes all over the place. And they all might have the family members, this one just did that, and that one's in jail, and that one's got, and she just got pregnant at age 14. And it goes on and on and on, right? All because of not taking to Krishna the guidance, proper guidance. And this, because we all must be intoxicated, by taking to the morning program, we get an intoxication. Mind and senses become under control, and we get a higher high by thinking of Krishna. And that's the real solution that is spoke about in this purport. Or was it Yamunacharya? Somebody, Yamunacharya has found a higher high with Krishna. Since I've been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of such pleasure, I spit the thought, my lips curl with this taste. Krishna's better than Maya. It's just that simple. So we have to always remember Krishna, never forget him. And that's what Prabhupada has perfectly delineated to us and given us a world that a home that the whole world can live in and solve all our problems. So it's a higher taste, right? What is that? Vishya Vanivartante Naraharasyanaya Rasavarjam Rasapyasya Parameswara. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense objects, but the taste for sense objects remains. But by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So being fixed in consciousness, Krishna conscious, being Krishna conscious, it's a higher high. It's a much, much higher high. It's so much of a higher high that Lord Chaitanya, Krishna comes down as Lord Chaitanya to experience this higher high of being a servant of Krishna. God himself wants to experience what we can experience, and any living entity can experience at any time. And what we're experiencing all the time. Then you don't have to scour the earth. Was it LA? I've been there for a little while. So, where's so-and-so? And the leader there said, he's scouring the earth for that one, scouring the earth looking for that one, just like Pranjana, looking for that'll do it for him. But it won't, probably just compromising at best for that, because that one's not existing. That one actually does exist, it's Krishna, just forgot. Wasn't applying it quite tight enough, the program, maybe missed some morning programs, got behind on his reading too far, maybe started making offenses to his authorities that are guiding him so nicely, and captured. Wrong. So this formula, it's just a constant theme. Really, you can't leapfrog your authorities. It's not the smart way to go. And you gotta have a strong sadhana. And it states in here, Prabhupada's given us the solution. Work hard day and night to satisfy Krishna. I think of my Guru Radha Swami's lecture at this one temple where maybe it seemed like maybe he thought that devotees they were getting a little lax. And he screamed to the microphone full on, we gotta work hard for Krishna. Like, whoa, okay, I'll pick it up. So yeah, because the materialists are working hard for Maya. And the wonderful thing about this, here Prabhupada's not shunning Kama, Krodha, Lobha, just saying dovetail Krishna consciousness. Not that you have to get lots of wives and so forth, but work hard for Krishna's pleasure. I remember in Brooklyn Temple, there was a festival, and they were giving the microphone to people in the audience about how Krishna consciousness has affected them. And she says, I used to have this wardrobe with, tens of thousands of dollars worth of clothes and shoes and so forth. And then when I took to Krishna consciousness, she said she bought clothes for the deities. And then that fixed her problem, you know? So instead of buying for herself all this clothes and so forth, she bought for the deities, and it gave her that satisfaction that she couldn't get through this pursuing her own, you know, dressings for herself. So I was at a music festival a while back, and approached this group of maybe 6 people sitting there early morning hours, and they're not, you know, approached them with the books. And it was totally silent. Usually somebody's going, wow, cool, far out, yeah, how much? And they were totally silent. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be weird. And all of a sudden one gal starts just busting out, crying like anything, full on. And we're all like, okay. And then she goes, do you have the nectar of instruction? I'm like, yeah. And like, changed my life forever. She starts just crying. Everybody was watching this, kind of, you know, completely stoned out, but picked up their attention. Like, yeah, she said she used to be like overeating, you know, all the time and so forth. And by reading the book, she learned, you know, I guess, how to take prasadam. And from taking prasadam, everything got normalized and everything. It changed her life forever or something like that, she said. And, you know, they all just took all the books after she was like, you can't fake that, you know. It was people totally being moved by dovetailing their propensities in Krishna consciousness. They solve all the problems. It's just a fact. And I mean, I know for me, if you know, out there, external vision with material starts looking attractive, it just means that I haven't applied myself, worked hard enough for Krishna in chanting and reading and distributing his books, to where I'm tuned into Krishna enough. And as I apply that, again, okay, just monitor all that, and then, oh yeah, Bhagavatam, yeah, this is so nice. You just reminded us how wonderful it is. So much better than pursuing the material pursuit. That's going to lead, you know, the intelligence, you got the knowledge, you know it's going to lead to not a good situation. So my friend, I won't mention his name, I don't want to embarrass him. He's an amazing person. I mean, really super amazing personality. And he totally took the book distribution, and he doesn't report his scores, so nobody knows how incredible he is. But he just travels, sometimes literally. Oh, he told me he goes 70,000 miles, drives 70,000 miles a year. He gets a new van every 2 or 3 years. I mean, 70,000 miles a year. That's like almost 4 times around the whole planet. And he'll go all night long, sometimes just drive to a music festival from Chicago to Florida, arrive there with 2 hours of rest, work it like anything, do humongous, and then drive literally 10 hours to the school, and you know, where the school's over there, and it and you just kind of just chill. He doesn't know if I don't chill it, I'm gonna just have 17 lives. And so he's taking this energy, it's energy that Krishna's given us. We can just like the switch there, we can go to heat or cold, we can go to Krishna or Maya. So just channeling that from Maya, gaining the knowledge as to how to do that, reading it regularly, being reminded of it regularly, and apply it, then we can do amazing things for Krishna, just like this wonderful devotee's doing. Amazing things for Krishna. I mean, really phenomenal. And you all are doing amazing things. Just even maintaining this place is amazing. And Kali Yuga is amazing. Let alone gradually, every time I'm here, it just gets nicer and nicer. So just keep the intelligence intact, applying it, and we don't have to go down that lower mode route and experience the greatest pleasure, and which is Krishna consciousness, and go back to the spiritual world where you never have to deal with this embodied experience again. Never again do you have to deal with the body and mind and senses just going bhoga tyaga, repulsion, attraction, repulsion, constant, agitation. It's gone. It's no longer going to be there. Our next birth, applying it properly, so we go into a gopi's body, but we don't have material consciousness. We get trained up somewhere where Krishna is doing his pastimes, but we don't have material consciousness. So, and then we go to the spiritual world. So this is 100% in our highest interest, rather than give in to this attraction and repulsion. Stop there. Any comments or questions? Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you.
just more of a comment.
Please.
I really like the example you gave. I don't know if it actually happened. I think it did, where the lady had a shopping addiction and it was kind of mitigated by shopping for or purchasing clothing for the deities. I really like that because I feel like when a lot of people are new or they're just really struggling, they think, oh, I have so many addictions, I have so many samskars, I have so many material desires, like it's just impossible for me to quit. But, if we just add Krishna, if we don't focus on getting rid of everything, because that's really hard for our material brains to kind of just jump and go in cold turkey. We just add more and more Krishna, sometimes making things, just taking what we have or our issue or whatever, a shopping addiction, and turning it to Krishna, I think is a softer way for us to kind of accept, what, I can do this. I don't need this whole repulsion, attraction situation. It can be done.
Yeah, good point. First person comes through the door. 4 regular principles first. Yeah, okay. I remember hearing that one of those regular principles, and I thought to myself, this is impossible. And then I thought, well, let me just give it a try. Maybe I can last an hour, 2 hours. And, that's a little crazy, but, and sure enough, the whole day went by, and then here I am, 27 years later, whatever. I remember my father making a point to me because I didn't really understand some things. My father said, I don't know why he told me this, because he calls himself not really a theist, but he told me, you're forgetting about God's grace, God's grace. God's grace is enormous. You can do anything for anybody. It's true. We apply ourselves, we get so much mercy. It's all doable. We have to remember that that's really the major part of it, if not all of it. It's Lord Chaitanya's mercy. We apply ourselves, and by His mercy, we're able to function. It helps to keep us humble, and continuing to get His mercy. Any other comments or questions? Yeah.
Also, I personally have found, and there's a saying too that 98% of success is showing up, right? And I think that is so important. In order to get that mercy, you gotta be there, trying, So, but I think that's so important. Is just sometimes it's easy to get discouraged when you're trying to practice Krishna consciousness, and so then you think, oh, I'm not gonna go to the morning program, or I'm not gonna read today, or something. But then that kind of sort of just sends you into a downward spiral where that just makes it worse and worse. So if you just show up and you try to do it anyway, even if you're feeling discouraged, then you tend to fare better.
Yeah. The engineer is saying, well, we want to fly really high. When I grew up, we have we call It's like a motorized hang glider my dad had. And we had this property where you had to floor it. And if you floored it the whole way, you could clip the trees and bury it. And then I remember one of the engines went out, with 2 engines in. Like, oh no. And you just start going, barely, just, starting to almost clip trees. And then you're going, oh my God. So you want to go real high. Keep both engines working, keep them both working nice. Stay high. Don't clip the trees. Once you clip the trees, you can crash. Landed at IBM property one time. Helicopters would come around. That was IBM, trying to get me, but it was a search and rescue trying to find me. So I was hiding from them. So you don't want to clip the trees. You want to go way above the trees so you don't crash, right? Fall victim to Maya. Thank you for the nice comment. Any comments or questions? All right, well, thank you unlimitedly for allowing me to be here and being so kind to me as well, and continuing to make such nice prasadam, a nice temple situation, being such wonderful souls. This is really incredible. 6 months at Mount Rushmore, I see one devotee once a month who somebody comes by to go to visit Mount Rushmore that's an initiated family, husband has his family or wife, and they say, how do you roll? And that's about it. So, no prasadam. I cook 7 times for myself up there. And so this is so incredible. It really is incredible, especially this Sangha, There's some places in the brahmachari pulls you aside, Prabhu, can I get your fan? I don't like it here. But you don't get that here at all. This is really, really exceptionally well. And the reason at least 70% of why it's so exceptionally well is that personality in there. Mother Sundamani, please appreciate. I'm sure you all do, but it's a rare opportunity we all have here. So thank you very much for tolerating me, and thank you for letting me be here. Really, it's so important for spiritual growth. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi.